The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. Please check out the Night Dreams Talk Radio website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. Also, if you want to keep our show free of advertising, just hit the donate button. Give $1 or $2. Remember, all prior shows are always free to listen to. We at Night Dreams Talk Radio thank you for your support. Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer.
Yes, I am, and I am back. We are all back here, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a really tough 2 weeks for Night Dreams Talk Radio. I tell you what, Gary Ensign down at the compound there has been snowed in and power out and everything, having to deal with this Snowmageddon storm. I call it the Super Bowl Monday Snowmageddon, because it was just after the Super Bowl that everything blew out, and we got in the Pacific Northwest about 2.5 feet of snow where Gary is, of course, and then we got eastern Washington and even Seattle got well over a foot of snow all at once, and it stayed around for 2 whole weeks. So I am glad that we are back on the air and able to come back and have some wonderful shows here tonight. So we are going to tonight have Peter Davenport, our friend from the National UFO Reporting Center, going to tell us a little bit about some of the sighting reports that we've been missing for the last couple of weeks because we've been off the air, and they're stacking up big time. And then we've got Vince Nzunza from Pacific North Weird, and he has got a whole lot of interesting stuff that's happened in the last 2 weeks. In the weird and paranormal throughout the country, the news that we're going to get updated on. And then our main guest tonight is a real treat for me to interview. This is Tina Foster, who is an author and a fellow paranormal lawyer of mine, a good buddy. And she has written a book which is just out, brand new, on Amazon and all over the place that you can purchase, about the idea that Paul McCartney was actually killed or died in some kind of a strange accident and then replaced as a Beatle all the way back in 1966. If you can believe that. We're going to get into the details and some scientific analysis in that regard as well to kind of show you what Tina Foster has researched for years, like 8 years on this project, and the book is now out. So sit back and relax, get yourself a nice hot drink, bring your blankie and curl up by the fire. The cat will probably jump on you any moment, and just relax. So first of all, we want to get on here with our sighting report updates from Peter Davenport from the National UFO Reporting Center. Probably a little freezing himself out there in eastern Washington amongst the snowdrifts that were how high, Peter?
Well, I have a snowdrift that's within 3 houses of me that is, we estimate, 10 feet from ground to the top of the Snowdrift. 10 feet deep. That's not to say we've gotten that much snow, of course, but we had a big windstorm out in Harrington in eastern Washington state on the Saturday, the 9th of February, and it swept much of the snow off the wheat fields and piled it up around obstructions, otherwise known as people's houses. And it was a doozy of a storm. I remember having awakened that Saturday morning, and I opened the blinds, the curtains, and I saw a snowstorm going by from left to right. It was totally horizontal because of the wind.
Oh, so man, yeah. And you live right on the golf course out there, so you have a unobstructed view of a snowstorm right outside your window, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's where the direction I was looking, and I couldn't even see the trees, the nearest trees on the golf course. The snow was so thick, and it was going so fast. So
yeah,
it's nice to have the paranormal attorney back on the air, and nice to have Night Dreams Talk Radio to listen to. So I'm delighted to be here tonight.
Yes, thank you so much. And man, during this last couple weeks that we have been inundated with this Snowmageddon, they call it. What has been going on with the National UFO Reporting Center? Has it been busy? Has it been not busy?
Yeah, been a lot going on. And you and I have talked about this off the air. I think things are beginning to heat up in the field of ufology. What the future may hold in store for us, I have no idea, but I will not be surprised if there is some kind of resolution to the UFO phenomenon in the relatively near future. And I may have to eat those words someday, Michael. You may have to remind me of that statement, but there's a lot going on, and it appears to me that these, as we call UFOs, are much more willing to show themselves overtly, much more so than in the past. And if you hear clicking on the line, that's another call coming in over the hotline. I should have blocked out incoming calls. I apologize, but I don't think it'll be a big nuisance.
No, we don't hear the click. So not a problem.
Oh, good. So,
yeah.
And when you were introducing the show tonight, you mentioned that you reminded me that we had not done a program last night, and that instantly gave me a number of reports that I had accumulated last week, but which we didn't touch on because we didn't have a program. What would it have been on the 9th of February?
Yeah.
So it just gave me a slew of reports that I haven't reported to the Night Dreams Talk Radio audience. And let me start with one that I don't think you've seen unless you've been on our website. It comes from the state of New York, from Patchogue, New York. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It's a city on the south part of the Long Island shoreline, or on the south side of Long Island. A gentleman writes that there were 4 people. This is a second-hand report. There was a water tower in Patchogue, in a community, and a young mother was out hanging laundry on her laundry line. Probably many people listening don't know what a laundry line is, but that's what that's what clips were for clipping laundry to the line, of course. But she was hanging laundry, and she looked up, and there above the water tower in her town was a huge disc-shaped object, gold in color, and it just hovered there. She estimated that it was larger in diameter than the diameter of the water tower. And the interesting thing about this, her children saw the same thing. They were outside playing, and their attention was drawn to it as well. And she estimated that it was probably twice the diameter of the water tank, which probably would have been at least 30 or 40 feet. So we're talking about a disc, gold in color, hovering motionless over this city on Long Island, New York. And they estimated that it hovered there for 10 minutes. It gets even more interesting, Michael, in the sense that when she used to tell this story, this all occurred in 1952. I may have failed to say that.
Oh, got it.
Estimate the summer of 1952, so this is an old report. And she once, or maybe more than once, made the statement that she didn't know where those people had come from, but they weren't from this planet, suggesting to many people that she somehow or some way saw the occupants of that craft, and perhaps even may have been in the craft. Her children talked about it all their adult lives, and it's just a very interesting report.
Oh man, Peter, and the kicker was that you told us then that this happened in 1952. Oh my goodness! Now I have a great caption for a cartoon that you just put in my brain when you said this report. I mean, you can imagine a hovering UFO that's hovering right over a cylindrical water tower, and the caption is like, you know, what are you doing here? You know, I'm thinking it's another UFO or it's hovering over the other day. I just thought that was hilarious. But 1952, gosh, that's fascinating.
Yep. And we have a lot of those. The reason I find some of these past sighting reports so interesting is that, as you know, Michael, I had a sighting, a very dramatic sighting of a very unusual object on the outskirts of the St. Louis, Missouri airport back in July. I think the date was close to July of 1954. And I, for some reason, as a result of that perhaps, I'm very interested in reports from the early 1950s. If we have any listeners tonight who had sightings, who've had past sightings in the 50s or 60s or 70s, urge them to write them down in detail so another person reading the report could understand clearly what it all looked like to the witness, and submit those reports using our online report form at ufocenter.com. Those reports they're more precious than a 5-ounce gold nugget in your footpath. They're just very interesting, and if they're not written down, they can't be shared with other people. It's important to write it down to preserve the information, of course.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's a good idea. Get all those historic reports that have not been reported into the National UFO Reporting Center so that the data can be analyzed and for other people to share. Because I'll tell you what, when you look up a report from 1952, potentially in your area or where you lived at that time, it might pique your own interest or your own memory of something you saw at that exact time.
Yeah. And those reports are very valuable, as you point out, because you can compare them with other reports from the same location or the same time or same time of day, and they tend to corroborate one another. So it's very important. Most people who call the hotline want to talk about their sighting, and I try to dissuade them from doing that. I've lost a lot of friends as a consequence, or lost a lot of reports potentially, because what I want people to do is not talk about it. That's a feel-good exercise. I prefer to have them write it down, write all the details down surrounding their sighting, the time, the date, the location, the direction they were looking, the angle of elevation, how big the object appeared to be, what color it was, and so on. All of that information is crucially important to an investigator like me.
And obviously there is a report form right on the website, right? They can just follow that form and turn in their report at that point. You know, just Peter...
like filling out a job application.
There you go. Yeah, only this one will last forever as far as the archives go, and that would be very helpful. Well, I don't know that there is a lot of folks